when every single comparison is just you and Ginger.
What's up, everybody? Richard from TrueShot here, and thank you for checking out the 12th episode of the TrueShot Guest Spot podcast. On today's episode, we have Mike Stringer, the guitar player for Spiritbox, and this was an awesome conversation, probably my favorite podcast to date. Talked about so many great things, even just, fun banter. We talked about it all. So in terms of what we did talk about, some previews, he used to be in a band called Iwrestledabearonce with Courtney, his wife, and obviously now they're in Spiritbox together. So we talked about the transition from Iwrestledabearonce to Spiritbox, kind of what life was like in that in-between period there. We talked about their tour with After the Burial that got canceled midway through due to the pandemic. We talked about Holy Roller. We talked about, the tag that they would get, as female-fronted and some of the connotations that come along with that, whether it be in media or just trolling online. And I mean, hey, we even talked about what kind of plastic surgery you'd have to get. That may not make sense to you, but it will if you listen to the episode. Also, there's a slight echo at the beginning for about 2-ish minutes, but it got corrected after that, so we apologize for that. But also, make sure you stick around, you watch the podcast. Also, we're starting up on Twitch now, twitch.tv/TrueShotOfficial. But anyways, let's get into the episode. This is Mike Stringer from Spiritbox. Michael Stringer, how's it going, man? I know we just asked you that 2 seconds ago, but I'm going to ask you again because it's the obligatory thing to do in a podcast. So how's it going, man?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks so much for having me on here, guys. It means the world. Thank you.
Absolutely. So for people who are tuning in who may not know who you are, Michael Stringer, they may know Spiritbox, but go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, what kind of car you drive, whatever you want to put in the intro there.
My name's Mike. I play guitar in the band called Spiritbox, as you just said. We are based out of Victoria, BC, Canada, and been in and out of different bands before. I used to play in a band called Iwrestledabearonce. Did that for a little while. Same with my wife Courtney, who is also the singer of our band Spiritbox now. And we're just trying to navigate through this crazy world that we're all experiencing at the moment, and just trying to pump out music, and that's pretty much it. That sums it up.
Nice. All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, the one question that I always like to ask people when I am very surprised is because obviously I had messaged you to come on the podcast, and I was very surprised when you knew who I was, for one, and then you knew about us. So how did you stumble across? Because I was thinking about okay, I want to ask somebody from Spiritbox come on here, and I'm like, they'll never want to come on this. I mean, they'll never want to come on this podcast. And then I'm like, hi, Mike, I'm Richard. Would you like to come on my podcast? And you're like, hey, Richard, I know who you are. And so I'm very curious, how?
Dude. Well, of course we come on your podcast, man. Yeah, I'm just down with the internet. So you know what I mean? So I think the first time I came across your guys' channel was when we put out our song called Blessed Be. And at that time we were, we were in Europe, and we had a lot of time to kill during the days and stuff. We were the first band on, so it was like we would set our stuff up, and then we would just sit around. And we were addicted to our phones and on our Wi-Fi and going through, what people thought of the song and shit. And you guys popped up, and I was like, oh, awesome. And I love reaction videos anyways because,
cool.
It's just getting to see someone's genuine first, response to your song that you slaved over and everything. And especially when it's positive, it's great. And you guys knew what you're talking about. And then I went through your channel, and then I saw your guys' band, and then I checked that out and everything. So
wow.
Still wanted to come on.
Whoa.
Yeah, definitely.
Whoa, for number one, I don't know what you checked out, but whatever it was, I apologize in advance.
I don't know, it was great. It was awesome.
I don't want to subject anybody to that kind of horror.
It was great.
So Yeah, man. So the other thing I wanted to start off with too, because I know that you said that you were in Iwrestledabearonce, and I've been dying to tell you this. So like, I think it was, oh man, it was. I think it might have been was Iwrestledabearonce on Warped Tour 2013.
2012, and then All Stars 2013.
Okay. It was okay. It must have been 2012 because I remember it was a Warped Tour, and because back in 2012 I was kind of in my formative metal years. I was kind of scratching the surface a little bit, and I remember I came across the set from Eye Wobble, and I was like, what the hell is this? Like, it was because at the time I was listening to like Avenged Sevenfold and Atreyu and 3 Days Grace and that kind of stuff, and then I saw that and I was just like, I was just a young lad. I was not ready for that insanity, but
you left very confused.
I was very confused. I was like,
You hadn't made it to like Dillinger Escape Plan or anything yet, have you?
No,
at that point.
Yeah, it was wild stuff. So, yeah, man. Like and then when we discovered Spiritbox, and then somebody in the comments had told us, oh, you and Courtney used to be in Eye Wobble. I was like, oh wow, okay. Because I never because I remember when we first discovered Spiritbox. I think it
took us a while. People kept, hey, you guys got to check this band out. You got to check this band out.
Yeah,
and we're like, yeah. People say that all the time, but it just kept coming and coming. We're like, we got to do this now.
Yeah. Well, 2012 would have been Courtney's first tour with Eye Wobble. She joined that band very abruptly, like literally. Yeah. Got a Facebook message when she was working at her 9 to 5 and was like, it was Eye Wobble's manager, and they were just like, hey, we need a replacement vocalist. Can you fly out tomorrow and do the rest of Warped Tour? And so that was her first tour. And then, she started touring, like literally after that Warped Tour, it was a world tour and everything like that. And I would start visiting them, and I got to know them really well. And then I was like, I was touring with the band in 2013, like in the band 2013, but it wasn't announced until like a year after that. So I toured with them for like a full year, and then that announcement came, and then we made a record together, and then we disbanded in 2015. But so that would have been early stages of Courtney's career with them. So that's really cool. That's like OG stuff.
It was funny because so what I did, because I actually, so about maybe a month or two ago, I had watched the podcast they did with Andrew Baina, and so that what I like to do, I don't know if it's just me or what, but like once I like find like a personality, I guess, that I'm like, oh, these seem like nice people, I go down like a rabbit hole of like as many interviews as possible, and I especially did for this because I wanted to do my research and
search.
Yeah, but that was an awesome podcast, and actually how it ties back to Andrew Baina was I've been messaging him as well, trying to get him on the podcast, and he's going to be coming on pretty soon. And I was just kind of like, hey, man, I kind of want somebody from Spiritbox to come on the podcast. And I know that you know them, and I did not want to be that guy, but I was kind of that guy where I was like, would you mind kind of mending that bridge? And then and then I said, all right, man, you know what? Never mind. Just give me the best way to get in contact with him. So I'm so glad that it worked out, and it's cool that you knew who we were, and it wasn't anything weird for you on your end. So I'm glad.
No, definitely not, man. Just slide into my DMs. You're good to go. No worries.
Oh man, do you get a lot of that? Greasing it right into the DMs, or no?
Dude, I'm really bad at like, especially on Instagram and stuff. And I feel bad a lot of the time when someone's like, hey man, like I wanna take a lesson or something, or just like a general inquiry, or just someone saying something so nice. Like I have a habit of checking things at the most inappropriate times, and then starting to like, oh, now I have to drive for 20 minutes, and then the rest of the day goes by, and then at the end of the night I'm like, oh shit, I left that guy on red. I look like an idiot. You know what I mean? Yep. And so I'm bad at that. So you caught me at a really good time, because I was just like, doing whatever on my computer, and you popped up, and I was like, oh, I know this guy, and then we started talking. So I need to work on that. So yeah, that's a good reminder for me.
No, yeah, it's easy that happens, Yeah. But yeah, man. So Again, I'm super excited to be doing this because, as everybody who is probably watching this knows, your latest song, Holy Roller, came out very recently. And that song was just like, because when we do reactions, right, we do them like, in groups, because we only get together once a week to kind of, do music-related stuff and do the reactions as well. So we get, we do probably about anywhere between like 6 to 8 videos, and I can't remember where you guys were in the pecking order, but sometimes you get a little fatigued doing all those videos, but we got to you guys and I was just like, whoa. And like I left after that night and I was just going down the highway, going home, just blasting it. And I will say that song has officially made my drive-by normal people going about their day and blast this song.
Dude, I cannot get that riff out of my head.
Oh yeah.
It's just like it's bends. So groovy.
Oh, thank you.
How did you come up with that riff? I gotta ask.
As a joke.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were writing the song, and like basically what happened is we were having like a writing week basically, and we had our producer up here. We were writing for the record, and everything that we were writing was so kind of like spacey and melodic and just like, almost like in the same vein as Blessed Be and stuff. And at the end of it, we still had like 2 days left or whatever, and we're sitting there like, we need like a really heavy song, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he kind of was just playing around with some sort of sound library and came up with that weird pattern with some, I think that was the sound. And just immediately from there, we just kind of were just joking around and came up with it. We wrote it in like an hour and a half. And the whole time that we were doing it, we were like laughing because of just how stupid it is. Because it is. It's a ridiculous, over the top, crazy song. And it's just one of those things where I feel like sometimes the less effort you put into some stuff, like it turns out to be the best, right? So
absolutely.
Us not taking it us not taking it too seriously. And of course, like, I'm not saying that we were like, oh, this is never going to make anything and this is just, we're wasting our time. Like, we had a great time doing it, and we knew that there was like something about it that we really enjoyed. But as far as like it actually being a single and stuff, no, it was not planned. And the song itself is so bonehead and just kind of straightforward anyways. But I'm happy that people like it. I'm really glad that people took to it, because I enjoy it. I think it's a really fun song for sure.
Yeah, I watched a playthrough of it. I'm like, it's not super complicated. It's just groovy as hell, you know?
Yeah.
So, no, it's sick.
Yeah, because it's like one of those riffs where it's almost like, how the hell didn't we come up with that? Like it's like Adam said, it's so simple, but like it's so groovy, and because like you said, it's different than like a Blessed Be or something like that. Whereas like you said, like it's like airy, and you go to that, and that's just like, caveman kind of style, like just beat down, just heavy as hell. So, I mean, because obviously going back to Eye Wobble a little bit, I mean, that stuff was just kind of all over the place. So, kind of going from Eye Wobble to Spiritbox, were you kind of tempted to kind of keep that sound a little bit? Because I know that sometimes some bands, they'll like, for example, like Amur, like when all those guys left the band, and then now they are in like it's like a hard rock or rock kind of band now. And it's almost like, it's like such and not that, going from Eye Wobble to Spiritbox is like that big of a change, but were you tempted to kind of be like, all right, people kind of know us as this, so should we continue with this?
Yeah, you know what? I got super burnt out, to be honest with you. And like when that all ended and we started writing for Spiritbox, I had like a month of just writing the same thing, and it became very clear that like it was I was very uninspired. A lot of the stuff that I was coming up with was just rehashed Eye Wobble, like Hail Mary era stuff, and I just it didn't make me feel good. You know what I mean? I didn't think that like, oh, I could see myself playing this style of music for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? Like it just wasn't there. So instead of just panicking and being like, oh shit, like I have to completely reinvent the wheel, I just basically was just like, okay, well, why don't I just write songs that I find are catchy, and then not worry about labeling it, not worrying like what it will sound like or anything, and just see what that looks like and what it sounds like. And that's how the first EP was made, was just, because like if you listen to the first thing that we did, there's, there's like an 16-minute long song or something that's like 3 songs are actually one. And then there's one like kind of tech song. And then there's a couple that are like, one's more bonehead and then the other one's more like verse, chorus, verse, pop structure. So it's very all over the place. But at the same time, like, we tried to make it all cohesive. But yeah, like I didn't want to do the same thing that I had been doing because it just didn't really make me feel great as a musician. Like it was very uninspiring to me.
Yeah, because did you kind of feel like that was maybe a little bit of a, I don't want to say like a risk, right? But like if for the fan base that you have, from Eye Wobble kind of carrying over to Spiritbox, did you kind of have a little bit of pressure on yourself to be like, oh, this is what they like know me as, I should deliver some form of this, and then you come out with something that's a little bit different?
Yeah, I mean, like a part of me kind of felt like that's what was going to be expected. So it was like, well, I mean, everyone's going to be expecting this, so if we do dumb things down and we try to do something like more I don't want to say accessible because it's not that, it's just it was more, there were more like like actual song structures and actual melody coming through and reoccurring themes, you know what I mean? And I was like, well, if we're going to do that, it has to be good, because otherwise people are just going to like glaze over it. And also at the same time too, like Eye Wobble never announced that it was done, right?
Yeah.
So it was just like, well, it's going to take people a long time to discover this once it actually does come out. And then we're not really getting, like, a lot of bands will go on their old band pages and be like, hey, just a heads up, this is what we're doing.
Right.
We never got that. So like even fans of Eye Wobble kind of had to organically find it anyways. And then they had to decide if they liked it. So it's not like we were even able to shove that down people's throats. You know what I mean? So very bizarre situation to be in.
Yeah, because no, it is. Yeah, because I know that like I said, sometimes like when a band like either disbands or a certain amount of members left, they'll end up marketing themselves as, we are like, and not that obviously you guys didn't do this, but in some cases it would be like, for example, we are Spiritbox, and then like in a little parentheses, X Iwrestledabearonce. But I'm glad that you guys didn't do that though, because I think like when you do that, especially like, at least from my perspective, like if I see, like for example, because we actually did see this, they came through our local area, it was like Examir, I'm like, oh, this must be like a heavy band, and it was not at all.
Right,
so it sets up an expectation that you're like, oh, that's interesting.
Well, I think you have those groups of fans, right, that'll be like, oh, it sounds like, oh, this, so I'm going to go listen to it. Oh, that's not what I expected, and vice versa, right? You're not going to have that opportunity where people, oh, I've heard of them, they were this, I'm not going to even check them out. So I think starting organically again kind of gives you new breath, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I think so. And, at the end of the day, too, you can't control what other people are going to label you as. Like, especially when we first started, if we were lucky enough that an outlet would decide to mention us, it would be Spiritbox in brackets Iwrestledabearonce. So
right.
We didn't even have to do that. They just did that anyways, because that makes more sense. The band had way more weight than Spiritbox probably still does.
And they're trying to get clicks too. So
100%.
Yeah,
right.
They're trying to get the clicks, so they figure because for better or for worse, Iwrestledabearonce was a very polarizing band. From what I recall, it was either like, it wasn't like I listen to them sometimes. Like there were people that were like, no, I hate that band, or they loved them.
Right. Yeah.
But so I guess like you had mentioned, like kind of the way that you wanted to write stuff that that you really liked that was catchy to you. So I know that in your interview with Andrew Baina and Johnny, I don't recall if you said that you were part of this or not, but I know that Eye Wobble, you said they had like a spreadsheet of like, these are the BPMs and like plug and play everything, which I think is kind of interesting. So like, how was your writing process change? Not even, I guess, from Eye Wobble, but for those that may not know, you were in a band called Fallen Archaea once upon a time. So
which is sick, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. We were listening to some of it before we got on, and Yeah, it was crazy stuff. But so, like, how has your writing process changed? Not, obviously you've gotten older and whatnot, but just going from like those different styles of bands.
Yeah, well, I was definitely a youngin' when it was during the FIA days, and back then, the only stuff that's even available on Spotify was stuff that was written when, like recording yourself was just becoming available, right? So that was me figuring out how to do that, and that record was written over Skype between me and the other drummer, Brent Rogers, and so that was a new experience for me. And then moving into Eye Wobble, as you said, Eye Wobble had a very crazy way of writing where like it was all taken. Like riffs would be made, they'd be saved, they'd be titled as what it sounded like with the BPM. It would then be entered into an Excel sheet, and then when they would construct songs, whenever they got stuck, they'd be like, all right, what do I got at 131 BPM? And then they go and I got a country lick. Okay, I'll put that in there, and then after like.
That is unique.
Yes, it was crazy. And I was used to writing full songs before because I was the sole writer in my old band. So when it came down to me joining and contributing to writing, there was kind of a little bit of a learning curve there of being like, okay, I'm presenting full songs. These guys actually only do parts. So now we're going to have to deconstruct my songs to kind of maybe throw in Stevens, or we're going to keep the full, and then he's going to add on some parts and stuff. So it was fine. We made it work. But, moving forward from there with Spiritbox, it was like I kind of had to then ditch that way of thinking, and then I'm like back to being the sole writer again. And, when it came down to that, like I said before, I was just burnt, and I just was, it would take me so long to get to a point where I could actually write full songs again. And when I did, it was just more so like a new experience of being able to reuse parts and being able to bring things back and actually having themes throughout the songs that maybe came back in a different song, at the end of the EP or whatever. And, and since then, I not in a bad way, but I feel like since that first one, we've just been dumbing down our writing ever since and thinking about things like, maybe it'd be cool to write a riff that won't kill me when I play it live. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's been a progression of maturing, getting older, and thinking really critically about how it will come across live. And that's basically the way it goes.
I gotcha. Yeah. So, so do you prefer that kind of being the sole songwriter? Because I know that there are some people, who even play guitar, and sometimes they're not really kind of like a full song kind of guy. They're more of like a like they have the idea in front of them and they can like be the filter, so to speak, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Like kind of provide good edits. But do you like being the sole guy rather than like I don't want you guys to bother me. Just let me do my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty aware that I'm kind of a control freak to a certain degree. But that being said, like after a little while, it became evident that I would not be able to keep up the momentum needed to keep pumping out full songs that were going to hit each time and everything. And so when we started, because like our producer Dan has always mixed and mastered our stuff ever since day one. But then it came down to, it was like, okay, well, what would it look like? Because he had done 2 records with us, and he was like, what would it look like if like you guys came down here and maybe I assisted you on writing? And that's when we started writing, when we recorded Rule 9s and Blessed Be. That was the first go of that. And I don't ever want to go back to the old way because it's just so... Well, for one, being the only guitar player in the band, it's so amazing to be able to sit in a room with another guitar player and bounce ideas back and forth. And, it's not like he's writing the songs for me, but he's giving me that immediate reassurance of like, that's really good. And there's something there to where like maybe I would be like, oh, that's shit. Like I'm going to throw this away. He's there to be like, no, that's really good. Here's what we can do with that. You know what I mean? So that helps a lot. And it's a good, I think it's a good dynamic to have for sure.
Yeah, because I think we just recently released a song back in June, and we're releasing another one here coming up. But then we're actually going to be, for the first time, going into like an actual studio with a producer. We've never done that. We've kind of done everything like on our own, and then
ourselves in my basement,
and then sent it out to be mixed and mastered. Which, by the way, I love when I think in that episode with Andrew, I think Courtney said, "Do not let geography be a limitation for you," which I thought that was like such a great way to put it. But yeah, because I think when because obviously we haven't been to a producer yet, but like the thought that I had in my mind is that like sometimes it gets hard to like kind of in a way self-produce yourself because you're you, and it's like you kind of need that. That fourth or fifth set of ears to kind of be like, no, that sucks, man, or no, that actually is good. Keep that.
Right. Yeah. You know what? I mean, like I just said, sometimes you end up throwing shit away, and you never know what could have been, right? Like if you just would have maybe not got frustrated, and kept the session up for an additional 25 minutes before deleting it, maybe it could have sparked something really cool. You never know. And I mean, like. Maybe not everybody will agree with that, but I think that after a certain while, you have to be able to allocate someone else to like share the stress levels with you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I remember like, before we started doing that, I just was sitting there just being like, I have no idea where to go from here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know which direction we should go. And then it just became apparent that it's like, it doesn't matter. We can do whatever the hell we want. And at the end of the day, I think that is something that is really cool about our band in particular is that we could probably release a stripped down version of something that's acoustic, or we could put out a Holy Roller, or we could put out a pop structured song like Blessed Be, and people would at least listen to it.
Yeah.
So that's important to me. I think diversity is very important.
Yeah, because we've definitely kind of gotten into the mindset of like, you know what, man, who cares? As long as it sounds cool, then we're in. It's like you're not putting yourself in that kind of a box.
Creative box, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, big time.
So I know that obviously there was a little bit of a gap between Eye Wobble going to Spiritbox. Like, so what do you? Because I know that you've been in bands since you were, like 16 years old. If I read that correctly. So like, what do you do when there's not like? I mean, obviously, like, you're going to be writing stuff. Naturally, you're a musician. But, like, what is, like, life like?
Man, it was crazy. We finished up that last Eye Wobble tour, unexpectedly leaving the band at that point. And I came home and I started delivering pizzas.
Been there, brother. Been there, man.
Yep. No, and it's not a shame thing.
No, not at all.
It's hilarious. No, not at all. And it's hilarious to me how, like, people... we'll hear that and they'll scoff at it, but like there's some nights if you're doing well where you can like bring home like hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and when you're like confused as hell what's going on and with your life and you need a quick thing, that's totally fine. But it's just funny that people's perceptions are like, oh yeah, so the reason why I bring that up is because I was delivering pizzas, and about a month into that and just like writing and just trying to figure out my life and stuff, I delivered a pizza to someone I went to high school with.
Dude, isn't that the worst? When you feel like you're at your lowest, and then all of a sudden you have that interaction with somebody who like knows you. Like, oh, dude, I used to feel that all the time when I delivered pizzas or when I worked in a restaurant.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you got to do what you got to do. You just got to make money. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
I remember showing up at this guy's place, and he opens up the door, and he's got the shittiest grin on, and he looks at me, and he's like, so I guess music isn't doing that well.
Guess that music thing didn't really work out there, huh?
Yeah, basically. And and that was the lowest point for sure. It was definitely like oh my God, what the hell is going on? But at the same time, like when something unexpected happens and, everything that you've been working for kind of gets almost like it just gets pulled underneath you, so to speak. It's like you got to figure out your life, and you got to make money. And, we just kept our heads down, and we're like, let's just work on this new thing, however long it takes. So basically, from 2016 to late fall of 2016, we were writing it, got it mixed and mastered. And then, we just did like the shop around thing. No one wanted it. No one wanted to pick it up.
That's crazy.
And that just baffles me.
And then fall, it finally came out fall of 2017. And then from there, we had to start from there. So we had been working on this thing for like a goddamn year and a half. And then it comes out, and we're starting from zero, basically. And yeah, it was a very interesting point in our lives where it was like, obviously this is all we want to do.
Right.
We're gonna do whatever we have to do to make it happen. But it was just very what's the right word I'm looking for here?
Discouraging?
It was pretty discouraging for a minute, and it was just very stressful and hard. It was just like almost not being able to, like being a bird with like clipped wings or whatever. Like you can't really do anything. You're just like holding tight until you can figure it out. Man. So, so it was a very bizarre time in our lives, but I feel like it was necessary because, without that, if we were just given this, amazing thing, and I feel like we wouldn't have really earned it, right? So, yeah, it was necessary, I think.
Yeah, man.
So, things now, right? You're kind of back there. Can't really go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
How are you dealing with it now? How are you dealing with it differently now?
Well, I think because we now have like a quote unquote sense of purpose, and we have like our actual
looking in a mirror, man,
that we want to do, you know what I mean? Then it's okay because it and also, the band itself has been like, we joke around, we call ourselves an internet band all the time, because the reality is we spent so long with this band, like getting ready to tour and getting to the point where we could build a demand so we could do the right tour, you know?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when that came around and that got cut short, it was like, okay, so we're just going back to the way that we've been doing things the whole time. We're just out of tour mode, So the transition it's not been too difficult, to be honest with you. We've just kind of shifted a couple things here and there, and now we're just doing it full on online still.
Yeah. No. Well, good, man. Like, because going back to what you were saying about, the delivering piece. So like I went to college. I had my son. I have a 9-year-old son. I had him when I was 17. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, I had him when I was 17, and then I went to college, and like I was like thinking like, all right, I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna go into law school, and then like I took the LSAT a few times, and I just couldn't pass it. And then I was just like, you know what? I've always wanted to do a band. Like I've always wanted to, but because I was a car screamer. I think that's where everybody gets their start with screaming, is kind of in the car. Because where else are you gonna do it? You look like a lunatic doing it anywhere else.
Yeah, 100%.
So I was just like, you know what, man? I don't want to be like measured based off of like a day job kind of thing. So like when people ask like, what do you do? I say, I'm in a band. Like I'm like, that is how I want to present myself in like a, when you go to like the cocktail parties or whatever, and they're like, so what do you do? Or the high school reunion.
I'm in a band.
Yeah.
I make metalcore money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm above you.
We play riffs. Can you riff? No, but it's funny though, and I think that's actually really important, especially for anybody who's like a creative type, is that like I kind of use like the day job thing as a way to make the passion kind of come to fruition, and whatever you got to do to get there, man.
Dude, that's the thing. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like me and Courtney still work jobs. We still work at a hospital. We still do like, data entry and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with it. I feel like so many musicians are like, they're almost not willing to speak on it and not talk about it. But the reality is 99% of musicians, they work some sort of side hustle to get income. And like I was saying before, like, like the whole like delivering pizzas thing, it was totally fine. The only thing I didn't like was running into my buddy from high school that one time. You know what I mean? So, it could be much worse. You could be doing something else. So,
hey man, you could have made so much money somewhere else, and this is what you do for fun. Why is he judging you?
Well, exactly. 100%. So, I think people have to embrace, just the mentality of doing whatever it takes and just, getting it done, and just, living within your means. And if something is to happen with it, that's amazing. That's awesome. But it should be fun enough just to do by it on its own anyways.
Right.
Yeah, no, because like I said, when I was working in a restaurant, I like remember asking like other servers, like, can you take that table? I really don't want to interact with this person that I know. Like I just want to.
That's tough.
Yeah. So getting off of all the somber topics, which actually I'm kind of. We're going to be getting into
take us back into one, aren't you?
We're going to be kind of getting into the After the Burial tour here in a little bit, but
yeah, sure.
The first thing I wanted to touch on is you had just said a little bit ago, doing the right tour. Because I think what we see a lot in our local scene, and I think it's probably fair to say that it happens elsewhere, is that there's a lot of like these DIY tours that are, and I don't want to say anything bad about anybody, right? Because like, everybody's trying to do their thing, do the band thing. I think that's great, but I just think from like a logic and also a financial standpoint, it's like, and like I know that you guys are, I'm 27, so like I'm not like, like a 50-year-old man or whatever, but it's like, we're kind of older, and it's like I don't want to waste my time doing this. Like I don't want to play to like
running
10
around
people.
The country without a purpose,
exactly.
right? I mean, playing to 15 people, 0 people, maybe have 1 or 2 good shows on a 10-show run or something, but
yeah, you know what? I feel like if you're young and you don't have the experience, it's important. 100%. It's important to go and do that and figure that out. We said no to a lot in the 2 years before we actually ended up touring. And the reasons being is, basically what you just said. I'm 29, Courtney's older than me, Bill's older than that. And we can't risk putting ourselves in a position where, one of us is going to come home and not be able to pay for this or that. And it's just, it doesn't make sense. If I want to go and do something for a couple of weeks with my bandmates, we'll fly to fucking Mexico and we'll sit there. And
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like to me, DIY tours, like it's just almost like a vacation in a sense, where like you feel like you're having this sense of like, we have to do this, man. Like we need to get in front of people. And it's like, well, you could just not do that and have your van break down and then come home like 5 G's in debt. Like you could actually just spend maybe a quarter of that and like push yourself online.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
Man.
Or create content or create a video and push that or something. And I mean, like, yeah, it sucks. It really sucks to not go and do it. But at the end of the day, it's like you have to build some sort of demand. You have to make people want to come and see you. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, that's what this whole band has been, and I will say, like, it was really tough to not play music for that long, to not actually go and do it, and to be known as like a quote unquote internet band. Like people from around our area would rag on us all the time, and then, when it came down to it, and we felt like the time was right and the right offer was there, it was like, hell yeah, let's do it. Like this is perfect. Let's do it.
So did you kind of need, was it kind of like an internal decision to not do that? Or did you need an outside force? Because like I said, you've been doing it since you were 16. Like, what's it like to be like, full throttle for so long, and then to go to like the online band kind of title?
It was one of those situations where we knew that if we were to go and say yes to a bunch of stuff, we would have an immediate sense of fulfillment going and playing, right? Obviously. Right. But if we held off and we, built the hype or whatever you want to call it, built the demand, when we were to go and do that, it would be 100 times greater. So just be patient and let's hope. It makes
so much sense.
Let's hope it pays off. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that like, the tour that we got to do was the be all end all, like the biggest thing in the world. It was just like, it was a great fit. It was where we wanted to do it. It was like we've toured with ATB before. We've only heard good things about the other bands, and yeah, it was perfect. It was exactly what we needed to do. So yeah, we were fortunate that it worked out. But I'm not sitting here being like, oh, it was so easy not to play live for 2 years, because I wanted to rip my hair out.
Yeah,
like it's tough. It's really hard.
Yeah, that is tough because, I mean, yeah, like Adam has 2 kids. I have 1 kid. So, I mean, for us to ever make the decision to go on a tour, it's got to be a lot better than a local band 1 through 4 hitting up, some like back alley place in West Virginia. It's got to be worth it.
I don't need to pay for a vacation to go sit in a van with a bunch of sweaty dudes and not shower and, do the trip, Yeah,
so. And on top of that, too, like if all of us hadn't had that experience and like we had never toured before, then sure, we would need to go and have that experience. But like you were saying, like I started a band when I was 16, and we used to leave school. We used to skip school to tour. We would tour all the time, and we toured Canada. I don't even know, like altogether probably 15, 18 times, for years, and then after that it was the Eye Wobble thing, and they were constantly touring. So, we didn't really have to have that experience when we started this. It was like, how can we maximize this thing to grow? And we felt like that was the best way to do it, is just to focus online.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Because we formed in 2018, and like the first year we really we put together some songs and we played the local area a lot. And then I don't want to say that COVID was like a good thing, so obviously it's not, but like in a way it allowed us to like kind of step back and be like, all right, let's really do this online kind of thing. And we have done a lot more than we could have ever done, just kind of sticking to what the old formula, so to speak. Because like you said, even a percentage of what it would cost to go on tour to put online, I mean, you can put $5 a day if you know what you're doing online and see some results, like some real people that are like, yeah, I like this.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of work.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, dude. Yeah, man. Like
it's a hustle.
Yeah. I'm always trying to think of like the reaction channel was one way. I was like, how could people listen to us, another local band in the sea of like foreverness, So
right?
So I figured, we'll do that, and maybe by virtue, people will figure out who we are. And so far, it's kind of been paying off. But
yeah, definitely, for sure.
And it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, that too. And it's kind of like a Facebook ad in a way, because we kind of stick in like the metalcore kind of genre. Like we're not like reacting to like rap and stuff like that, because we're like, I don't think people will like our music who are like checking us out because of a Drake reaction or something like that.
Well, we've done some off stuff, but
we have. But okay, now we'll get into the After the Burial tour. Hold on.
Yeah, sure.
Hold on. After the Burial tour. There we go. And we need
Oh man, I was waiting for you to use one of them.
Well, I was actually going to come in. I was actually going to come in and give Mike an applause. Because he can't play live right now, so we need some kind of live. We have a live studio audience behind us, and then for Adam,
that was such a rush. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Exactly. And then for Adam, what I'm going to start doing for every podcast is this.
Yeah, but just here is like a distraction in the corner.
I got this new mixer thing, man, and I'm just like going crazy with all the different things I can do with it. But anyway, back to what people are here for, not my antics. But so the After the Burial tour, you had said that on Andrew Baina's podcast, the Just Noise Boys, by the way, go check that out, guys. You had said that it came down to you and Dealer, which if that happened today, then it would have just been you. But if so, explain that process to people, what that means. It came down to you and Dealer. Like, what goes into down to you and Dealer?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we're to a lot of people, we're like a brand new thing, right?
Right.
And like, I'm not even sure at first if ATB knew that some of us had toured with them before, and and there's a lot of outside forces. There's a lot of people working for said bands that have their influence and being like, oh, I think you should do this, or like, hey, this band would be a really good option. They kill it here, or they did this last tour, this many tickets, or they sold this much merch, blah blah blah. And so I guess at the end of the day, it came down to us and Dealer, and we just kind of held tight, and we're like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, did that whole thing. And it also helped that our management manages ATB, so there was a little bit of that sway there.
There we go. That's what I was going to ask. Okay.
Yeah. And so, from there, we just said yes immediately as soon as the offer was there. And we were just like kind of in disbelief, because it was just like, man, this band has played. At that point, when we accepted that tour, we had played 4 live shows.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you like play much before then? Because like you said, like you're right. Like when you're writing stuff, did you notice that like you were like, oh man, like I really screwed myself over writing this kind of riff to perform it live?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, also it's more so like putting it together in a set form, and like, writing the MIDI to switch the patches at the right time. Writing
that
the
is a pain in the ass. I don't know if anybody who's watching live knows what it's like to set those MIDI things up, but they are pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's pretty painful. And so, of course, not to sound like that guy, but it's like, okay, so we've gone from doing 4 shows. Now we are going to go overseas and play for 3 weeks. I have to set it up. That's fine. But now I have to lock myself down and make sure that, and it's my responsibility. So if anything is to go wrong, I'm the only one that knows how to fix it. And so that, there's just a lot of stuff like that it kind of lingers over you being like, don't fuck up. Don't screw up. Don't screw up.
Now you're talking about the live set, automation and backing tracks and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it was fine. There was no issue, but it was just like the moment that we accepted it, it was like, oh wow, this is real. Like this is being announced in a couple weeks, and we can't mess up. We have to be on our game, and we have to just not be that classic opening band that's never toured before.
Yeah. So, get your ass off stage when you're done. But so do you do what Adam does? I see this every show that we play. He has a pick in his mouth. He's over at the computer and he's like, it's like everything's gone haywire. Like in that moment, I just know. I'm like, everything is just totally screwed right now.
He's like, can I do anything?
I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, I have no idea what to do.
Get away from me, dude. Just get away from me.
Yeah, and then you're sitting there on your phone being like, why is this not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Troubleshooting.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe if I just restart it,
Yeah. No, you know what? Luckily enough, there was only one moment on the tour, and that was when Courtney's in-ear rig just was not wanting to sync up to her pack. Ooh. And it was right before a show, and we got it sorted. But prime example, like even in Eye Wobble, Courtney had never had in-ears before. They just never went that route, and so our first dipping our toes into that was on that tour, and it just ended up being it's because the venue was beside a train station and the frequency needed to be changed. But we didn't know that, you know what I mean? So to us it's like, what the hell is going on? And we're worried about her not being able to hear what she needs to hear and blah blah blah. And so I mean, there definitely was, even though we've had experience in the past, it's like taking that long of a break and then going and doing that, it's pretty daunting. It was pretty real. It got real really fast.
So I'm a gear guy, right? And I'm going to jump in before Rich asks the next question.
Yeah. Sure, I just keep going. Yeah.
Traveling with gear these days is not the same as it used to be, carrying around the cabs and stuff. What did you bring to on tour?
We brought cymbals, kick pedals, snare drum, and then I brought a SKB travel case that was 6 spaces, and it was just power conditioner, in-ear rig, Kemper, and that's it. Actually, that's it. Nice. I was lying. It wasn't that big. And then of course the old 5th member, old MacBook Pro. And,
yep.
Mr. Pro.
Sorry, and a rack mount interface for sending the tracks and stuff. That was it. So. Yeah, super standard, and luckily, that we just all shared the same backline, no issues whatsoever. Nice. It was good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, how many shows on that tour did you actually play before it was bye-bye?
Man, I wish I had the ad mat near me. I could tell you, but we got about halfway through. We basically were just about to get to the UK, which most of the shows were sold out, and we were ecstatic. One of the bands that we fell in love with, they're called Polar. They're from the UK.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure you guys have heard of them.
Yeah.
They were just talking up how great the UK was going to be the whole entire time, and I'm going to take you to this place. We're going to go here. We're going to go here, and So we hit the halfway mark, and it all just went to shit.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun.
Well, yeah, because when I was listening to Baina's podcast and you said that, I'm thinking to myself, okay, here's a guy who was in a band that ended abruptly. Then they go on to figure out, how to get Spiritbox off the ground, and then they're waiting, they're grinding, they're building it up, and then they finally get on this tour, and then it's just like a Houdini, the tablecloths off the table.
The rug's out from under you.
Exactly.
Boom.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Total Curb Your Enthusiasm moment.
I gotta get that on my. I gotta get that on my pad to play that.
Yeah, you should. You should.
I got. Oh man. I gotta get that. But okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. So, what are some things that people may not think of, like when they hear that? Oh, the tour is canceled. Like, what are some things, like, in terms of, like, even just, like, I know that getting merch over in Europe is, like, it's literally cheaper to get it over there and have it. So, like, you know, like, merch debt, stuff like that. What are some things that people may not think of when they first hear that a tour is canceled like that in the middle of it abruptly?
Oh, man. I mean, yeah, we had just sold out of all of our merch and did a full restock, and it was waiting for us the next day in the UK.
Oh,
no.
Like, that couldn't get any worse.
Yeah,
like literally, oh my goodness.
Like we were like, oh man, yeah, this is going so well. We've sold out everything. Better reorder everything.
And maybe order more?
Yeah, basically, because we were making room for the rest of it, which was supposed to be great. And so we were like, okay, like we're pretty confident we can do this. And so there's that. Luckily, that just got put on Empiricon's website. And, you know, that's not really something that we had to immediately think about.
Yeah.
But just, you know, and the other thing, too, is that usually when tours are canceled, it involves something that's like, you know, a family thing or some sort of outside thing that's not a pandemic. You know what I mean? It's something that's like, and maybe you would have a bit more time to think on it. But this shit was literally like within a 20-minute window of us being like, what's going on, to them being like, well, maybe we can push on and just do the UK stuff, to then everyone scrambling to get flights at like 2 a.m. when there's no internet on our phones and shit. And so, you know, another thing that people won't think about is that the fact that, like, you know, it cost us like $14,000 to come home.
Yeah.
You know,
those flights aren't cheap.
Man, that is. I feel bad for laughing. I'm not laughing. It's just like
dude, laugh, man. It's all you can do, because it's just like, what are you gonna do? Cry?
Laugh or cry, you know.
So you may as well like think about how ridiculous it is. It feels like another lifetime right now. You know what I mean? Like it's just. Man. And I'm sure at the moment, you know, like I'd be pissed off if anybody was going to be like, oh, it sucks for you. You know what I mean? Which we had on Instagram. Like we had people commenting being like, you guys are bitches. You should have just continued on. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
It's like, yeah, let's get stuck in a foreign country for however long without knowing what's going on.
Yeah, I'm going to live in the UK with nowhere to stay for 4 months.
I'm staying here till it's rescheduled. I'm not leaving.
Called out on Instagram. I'm going to stay here. I don't care if I die.
Well, as you know, we are on Twitch, and somebody in the chat, JSeaver01, they did say that I will be sure to buy a few Spiritbox shirts. So we'll take our cut whenever you'd like.
Just send me an invoice for that and I'll give you your percentage. It's all good.
Yeah. So
thank you for that, though. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I also in Bana's podcast, you had said that you guys were like your own merch person, and obviously us being a local level band, we're very used to that. So what is that like? Because usually, like, you know, you assume if a band's going to the UK, they're going to have, you know, drum techs and all these different like crew to go along with it. But so number one, I want to ask you, because we have this problem all the time. Who did your merch while you were on stage? Because we're always scrambling to figure out who to do that. And two, what was that like?
Well, first off, luckily, everyone on that package were the nicest people in the world. They didn't treat us shitty whatsoever. They weren't like, oh, who are these guys? You know what I mean? Like they were so welcoming, and we just did the classic like, hey, can you cover for us? You know what I mean?
Nice,
if someone was there. And secondly, what was that like? It had been a long time for me and Bill and Courtney. You know, Courtney usually likes to come at the end of the night for just like a slot of time where she can rest her voice, and then she just like allows herself like 20-25 minutes of just talking and meeting people, and then she's like, all right, I have to go. So she her not being there to like, you know, deal with all of that, because she's like the brain. Courtney's like the brains behind this whole thing, like business wise. She's like she does everything. She tackles all that. I don't know how she does it. She does an amazing job. But let's just say that there was a lot of harsh stares between all of us as me and Bill would fold everything and count everything, and then the next day we would go in and do the count again, and it would be
it's never this. Yeah, it's always off.
Like considerably, like so off, just so bad, like ugh. So we got into the swing of it, and we took shifts, and it would be like, Bill, I need to go shower, like stand here for like 20 minutes, and then I'll come back, and then we can switch off and stuff. But I loved it. It was honestly so incredible after not playing live and not doing stuff for a couple of years to go over there and do that and just meet people that knew who we were. Like that was
that's what I was going to ask too. Was the reception that you got must have been pretty good. I would assume, right?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest with you. I wasn't too sure, and just the fact that like people were showing up already wearing our shirts, or like people were coming up and like already knowing the words and singing along and stuff. It was kind of a mindfuck, to say the least. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, absolutely.
But
man.
It was pretty mental. I mean, like the power of the internet is pretty ridiculous at this point. But yeah, it was really cool, and it was great to like, talk to people that we had been talking to on live streams for a long time too. Like someone would come up and just say like, well, I'm Greasy Wheel 69, and you're like, oh wow, I know you, you know what I mean, or something like that, like. Yeah. So it sounds lame, but it's just like actually getting to have that interaction after so long was like a very cool and much needed experience, I'd say, for sure.
How long had it been since you had been to Europe in general touring?
The last time I did Europe was, oh boy, summer of 2014. 6 years.
Wow. So number one, you're on a great tour with Spiritbox, and two, you're back over across the pond, as they say, for the first time in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Man. So is there any kind of plans to? I know that it's obviously like I hate like the question of like. So when you guys touring again, obviously like, nobody knows, but are there like any tentative plans to like try to link back up to make it happen, whether that's 30 years from now or 2 months from now?
Yeah, you know what? We're looking at Europe summer 2021 right now.
Okay.
Mapping that out, seeing what that looks like, and what that will
breaking news
that will be with, and like obviously there's nothing set in stone, but it's being talked about at least, which is very encouraging. It's very positive. And the States, I don't know. We'll have to see how the next 6 months unfold to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody actually just asked U.S. tour, so I was actually going to ask you, obviously, because I know the U.S.
Yeah.
We'll just do this. There we go. We'll just do that. There we go. I have a sound for at least a few different moods. But good. So explain the
I'm impressed, Rich. We talked about this before, and you were like, so he's been texting all day like, hey, well, this is gonna be cool. I got this, thing where I got to do this. I got sounds. He's actually using them. I'm impressed.
No, you're killing it.
Yeah,
you're killing it.
I'm trying to be the DJ.
Do more if you can.
Oh, absolutely. Really well, I'll give you this one. I did get this clip here. I want to ask you actually. What do you think of this statement from Adam that he said in a reaction video once?
I am metalcore.
He said that. What do you think of that?
I would agree. I would 100% wholeheartedly agree. He is.
He told me to
genre.
say it.
Yeah.
He told me to say it.
No, actually, what happened
is Adam, tell me you're metalcore. I'm like, I am.
No, that's not. That is not what happened. What happened is that Adam hits the record button on the reactions, and we're just sitting there just messing around before it, and then usually I'll edit out and whatever, and then he said that prior to us officially recording. I was like, I'm saving that, and I'm never letting you live that down. But
that's so funny.
It is. But so that's the other thing I wanted to ask you about, because I think when people are, especially because you guys are Canadian, or even like any kind of band that's not from here in the States, like a Crystal Lake that's over in Japan, or even any other Australian bands, there's a lot that goes into getting even from Canada to the U.S. So like, what are the logistical challenges kind of either going from Canada to the U.S. besides getting actually booked, or in going overseas? Like, what's that process like?
So here's the thing. So Europe and UK, Europe, you don't need any type of paperwork whatsoever. They just let you do whatever you want. UK, you do need a work visa, so to speak. They're not difficult to get. Like it's not anything like the States. The States requires a P2 visa.
Okay.
And I don't know from experience now, but when I used to have to do it in Eye Wobble, it was a literal nightmare. It was a.
Welcome to the U.S.
Yeah, it's basically like I did it about 4 times. Each time it cost me about $3,000, and I know now that that's because I didn't have anyone helping me do it. And there's a specific way to do it where you can have it for a full year. But anytime that we would be taking tours in that band, especially near the end, we wouldn't have a full year plan. We would just look at like the next few months or like the next 6 months and stuff because of many factors. So I would apply for P2 visas for said tour. And then there's 2 options. There's a really cheap option where it's like $400. And basically that means that you're not expediting it. So that means it's going to take around 3 months to get to you. And then you can go and do it. They'll let you in, no problem. The problem with that is that 99% of the time when you're getting chosen for these tours, or at least when we were in that band at that time, sometimes 3 to 4 months, that's not enough time to accept it, know when you're going to be entering and leaving, because you have to include that in the thing. So that means that you have to expedite the visa, which then that costs about $2,200 US. And then there's a bunch of fees on top of that, and that means that you get it within a month and a half. And that's depending on how backed up the Department of Homeland Security is. So I would pay that, and on several occasions I would get it. It was just the literal hoops you'd have to jump through to get that done was just insane. And every time there would be something. I would go to the customs officer, and he would be like, "What are you here for?" I'd say, "I'm here to play shows with my band." And usually that's an immediate red flag where they're like, "Oh, you're making money here. Where's your visa? Where's your visa?" You know what I mean?
Right.
But literally every time they would look at me and go, "Okay, do you have a flight home?" And you're like, "Yep. Here's my itinerary." And they go, "All right, cool. Have fun." And
wow. Okay.
I would just go, "I have a P2 visa. Do you want to see that?" And each time they'd be like, "I don't know. We don't really need to see that." And it got to the point where the last time that I did it, I was like, "Can you please just look at it?" I spent the last month and a half working on this. I've spent thousands of dollars to get my ducks in a row to make sure that you're not going to ban me from entering here. And I even was like, "Do you have a second to talk about this? Because I don't even think I need to be doing this. Do I need to be doing this?" And he literally said, "It depends on who you get."
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Don't you love that?
Yeah. So
Oh man.
and we're talking about recording right now. We're trying to figure all that out, and the only way that we can be deemed as essential for travel and stuff is if we have P2 visas. And of course, they're not issuing visas right now. So
right.
It's not even an option at this point. It's kind of crazy.
Maybe we can think of a workaround. Maybe we can say that we're related and our uncle has passed away. We'll use that. We'll use that to our advantage to try to get you down here. But
we can create a fake family tree and use that as the evidence.
Absolutely.
We'll do an ancestry.ca thing or one of those other ones, and we'll kind of just fake it, and we'll add additional trees, and then we'll show that as evidence to the customs agent, and we'll be good.
Low key, those ancestry things kind of scare me because I have a friend who literally found out that his dad wasn't his dad from that. That is messed up. So
that's terrifying.
Yeah, that's exactly. I just took a little fork in the road
stay
there.
In the dark.
Yeah. That was scary. But so there you go, guys. Everybody that's in the chat, you listen to that. This guy has to go through all that to play these shows abroad. So head on over, pick up some of their merch. Okay, they want some money. Okay, I said it, not him. Okay, but okay, man. Okay, so what I wanted to ask you too was, like I said, you've been in a lot of different bands, been through a lot of different eras of promoting music, whether it's hitting the road and for 10 months out of the year or whatever versus the online space. How has that been for you adjusting over time? And have you found yourself maybe trying to be no, this is the way you got to do it? Or are you pretty good at kind of evolving it? Or like you said Courtney does a lot of it. You just kind of here you go, have at it.
There's no right or wrong way.
Yeah.
At all. You know, like people will claim like, oh, you should never do this, you should never do that. I can only base, what we do and what we've decided to do with this band. I can only base it off of the past experience we've all had, and as a collective as well. It's not just me. Like Courtney has done a lot. Bill, our bass player, has played in many bands. He's been in bands that have opened up for a day to remember in stadiums and stuff. Like he's got a lot of experience under his belt. So, when it came down to starting this and everything, we were very fortunate right out of the get-go to have our manager from Eye Wobble take interest and pick us up. So we've had that guidance since day one. And anytime that we've wanted to stray from us just like us being frustrated and being like, well, can't we just do this quick tour or something? Because there's been moments where we're like, I feel like I'm going crazy here. Like, what are we doing? And, it's just so nice to have that person there being like, just please be patient. We had to build the demand, just chill. It's going to be okay. And I think everybody can benefit from that. Just having, whether it's a manager or a good friend or just someone in the band to kind of keep level headed and be thinking a couple years down the road, as opposed to how you're frustrated now. He would always be like, in a couple of years, you're not going to be frustrated. You're going to be very happy that we did this. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like we're where we need to be yet. We still have a lot of growing to do. So I'm hoping that in a couple of years from now, all this mess is something that I just kind of smile at. It's just a cool experience. And, and I'm obviously not meaning that the whole pandemic. I'm meaning us, having to pivot and trying to switch into this new way of doing things, So we're very open to new things. We're very open to trying, for instance, we started when we came home. We were like, well, people are gonna be holding on their money. Like, what are we gonna do? And we just immediately started working on a Patreon. And we're like, well, maybe we can kind of shift that way, and we can do something like that. And thankfully, it's been awesome. It's been great, and we got a community there now. And awesome. Without that, I think we'd be pretty boned at the moment, to say the least.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So. Yeah, because that's the one good thing about today, right? Is you can do the things like a Patreon or YouTube or Twitch and stuff like that. There's a lot of different avenues. That if in the case of a pandemic, that you're not totally left for dead, and you're like, oh, what do I do?
Right.
But so, oh yeah. Okay, I'm looking at my notes here. I don't know how I missed this. So I wanted to talk to you about this because
I'm worried now.
I'm worried. No. It's hilarious. It's pretty funny.
That one.
Yeah. No, well, because I listened to it and I'm like, man, okay. Okay. So this is what I was going to ask you. You were doing an interview with I think it was actually Mike Martin, your former bandmate, and. And see, I did my research. That journalism degree is paying off. It's paying huge dividends.
You dug deep, man.
Yeah. But you had mentioned that you watched Love Is Blind, and I did as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely. So, what is it about that kind of TV, man? It draws me. I'm a sucker for it. It is so just absolutely insane that I have I literally find myself sitting there constantly thinking, what the hell am I doing watching this? I mean, this is insanity.
Yeah, 100%. I do the same thing. We had a moment where we binged the entire Jersey Shore series, literally every season.
The new one, the Family Vacation.
I think we got through that one too. I mean, they all seem to be the same, but yeah.
Yeah,
they all run it.
Yeah. I think that's the one without Sammy, right?
Yes. Yeah. That is.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about.
That's a territorial.
You can thank my wife for me knowing that.
Yeah. And the Love Is Blind, we binge watch, and recently we just dove headfirst into one of the seasons of 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days, not the regular one, but before the 90 days. Big difference.
So the pre-90.
Yeah, before the 90 days. So that one was a trip, to say the least. And I just love garbage TV. I absolutely adore it. I think it's the best. I love it.
I always wonder how much of that is because obviously they edit it in a certain way to be compelling, to be like to make it look like a train wreck. But I'm always like wondering, like, what is real and what isn't? It's almost like pro wrestling back in the day. You're like, what is happening? You don't know, like, is this actually legit? Or like, it's just, it's so crazy. Like, I don't know, man. So when you said that in that podcast, I was thinking to myself, oh man, my girlfriend got me, like, she does this thing where like she'll put on like this random show that like on my own I would have never like sat down to watch, and I'll just get like sucked into it, and I'm just like, oh, that's it. Now I got to watch the full thing because I need to know what happens to Becca and Damien or whatever. But
it's so important. It's so important, right?
Oh my God,
Courtney has that going on with me right now, is where she just threw on. I don't know if you've ever watched Botched.
Yes. No, I have not. No, I haven't.
Yes.
Do you know what it's all about?
Terry DeBro. His wife was on
who is it?
Housewives, right?
Yeah.
Terry DeBro, and actually the other guy's wife was on it too. I don't remember his name, but they take people who have had bad surgeries and they help them get back to normal.
Yeah, and like some people, it's like plastic surgery stuff, and some people like are kind of just going in there with like pretty crazy expectations and wanting to do some pretty insane stuff, and then other people are like, I got mangled by someone else, can you please help me? So like there's like both sides of the spectrum where you're like, oh cool, they help them, and then the other side of the spectrum where it's like, don't put more in, don't do it.
It's funny you say that, because I was flicking through and I was watching one the other day, and she had gotten all of these like butt injections, and she had some giant infection.
Yeah.
And she's like, I need more injections. And they're like, yo, if we put anything else in there, you're probably going to die.
Yeah, it's that shit's no joke. Like the whole like butt implant stuff, like that takes a long time to heal. Like I'm not talking weeks. Like it takes like 3 or 4 months for that stuff to like be completely clear. And it's like very risky apparently. So it's pretty wild stuff.
So,
and you're in healthcare. You said you guys work at hospitals, so you probably see not firsthand if you're not, in the line, but I'm sure you hear some stories there.
Yeah, well, my brother's a paramedic, and
there you go, right there.
He's also a firefighter, so he gets kind of.
Jeez.
He's crazy. He's a workaholic, but man, like for not to ramble here, but for one moment, because where we live, if you're not a full-time paramedic, they pay you like $4 an hour sometimes when you're not actually on call. It's the whole thing. It's like they have to restructure everything. It's crazy. Like it's wild. But for a minute there, he was having to work where I worked, and so we would just have the same experiences sometimes. But then like the difference was that when I went home, I actually went home. When like he went home, he would go off to do like a 12-hour paramedic shift. And I remember at one point, like, he would tell me stories, but at one point I messaged him and I'm like, oh man, like today's just dragging. This is brutal. This happened. I'm complaining. And he comes back and he's like, oh yeah, I just had 2 people die, and I'm just, dealing with this other crazy thing that, I'm just sitting there just being like, I am never going to complain to you ever again. I'm like literally sitting there in my office chair, like working and doing data entry, and I'm like, oh, this is really hard. And he's like, yeah, 2 people just died in front of me. It was really awful. Like,
changes perspective a bit, right?
Yeah, just a little bit. It's pretty wild. It's crazy.
So Adam, do you think I need any plastic surgery?
We might need a eyebrow reduction.
Probably. I mean, honestly, this is kind of getting out of hand at this point. What kind of plastic surgery would you get, Mike, if you had to pick something? If they were like, you have to pick a plastic surgery to get, and it can't be like, it has to be like something that's like kind of out there.
Just the hugest biceps. Nothing else. Just the hugest, just as many cc's.
We're here to play Holy Roller.
Yeah. Just in my biceps, and then it would. Yeah, and it wouldn't really work that well anyways, because like anytime I go to lift something, I just would struggle with it. People would be like, what the?
It would be like SpongeBob when he gets those arms.
I was going to say the same thing. He gets anchor arms.
Yeah, anchor arms. Yeah, that's what I want. Anchor arms. Just put it in there. I don't care. As big as you can get them.
Nice.
That is awesome.
I don't even know what I would get. The biceps sound good.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have to come back.
Or just the hugest calves for no reason.
I get shoulder broadening surgery just so I had like massive shoulders. Just like,
there you go.
No one would want to mess with me.
You wouldn't
I wouldn't be able to walk through doors. They'd be like, "Excuse me, guys."
You wouldn't be able to hold the guitar. You'd be like,
yeah. No one would ever yell at you in the Burger King line ever again.
They wouldn't be able to see the cashier. I'd be so wide.
Yeah, exactly. You just have
is this Burger King open?
Is this Mount Everest in the middle of Burger King, or is that some guy's shoulders? That's crazy.
That's Adam
so
from
funny.
TrueShot.
Yeah. We would instantly be recognizable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not for the music at all, just my broad shoulders.
Yeah, just brand recognition. You'd be in the music. You'd be in the music videos, just standing there. You wouldn't even have an instrument. It'd be like, why is he in the band? He's like, because he looks sick. He's got huge shoulders. That's why.
We could sell for merch. We'd sell football shoulder pads with like a signature shirt.
There you go. You guys are on the cutting edge of marketing, man.
Well, going back to interesting merch, you could sell like masks of like Courtney's makeup and Holy Roller. You know, be like Rey Mysterio from WWE. Sell the masks. You know, that could be an interesting merch idea, like a Halloween item.
I mean, can I ask where that concept came from? Because like I watched.
Let him answer my question first. Let him answer my question first.
No, my question's better.
Maybe I'll answer both questions. The whole mask thing was crazy, dude. Like, it's one of those things where we were trying to figure out a good visual aspect to the song that wouldn't be boring. And I mean, like, I'm not knocking on any band that did this, but like the whole Zoom jam thing after a little while kind of made you kind of be like, yeah, you know, that's awesome that you're doing that. It's just that like when everybody does the exact same thing, after a while, people are probably gonna like, you know, kind of just click away from it or not watch it, right?
Yeah.
So we came up with this concept where it was just like, okay, well, why don't we just do something where like Courtney's looking very almost like hypnotized or in a trance, and then we have this other character in a separate world where like it's a demonic figure or it's something that's just a higher power or like this cult leader to just kind of, you know, it's just like this thing is telling her what to do in this field, and that's basically the whole thing. And then the rest of it was just okay. You know, we Bill's friend just recently got married, so there's a ton of flowers at our disposal that we can use. Let's build a kind of like symbol type thing, and we can kind of tie that into the whole cult thing. And then on top of that, Bill's wife is an incredible makeup artist, and so I remember the first day we filmed all the field scenes and stuff, and that went fine. We were out there for like 8 hours, and then the next day, we did the demon part, and man, Ashley is her name. Ashley worked on Courtney's makeup for about 8 hours while me and Bill were setting up the other location to get it all ready. And I had like I kind of had like a basic concept in my mind, or like a basic idea of what it would look like. Like it was going to be just some sort of demonic thing. And we filmed it in the basement of my parents' house. And so when they showed up, I like went and opened the door, and I was literally like, holy shit. Yeah, like, because she was all done up and everything. Yeah. She had to be for the rest of the shoot. And yeah, she killed it. She did a phenomenal job. And it just basically came down to, let's just have some crazy demonic, you know, cult leader. And, you know, she'll wear contacts and she'll have this almost like corpse paint on. And yeah, that's how it all kind of came about, was we just went at it like that and hope for the best.
Yeah, it was rad.
Yeah, it was. It was awesome. Like I saw that and I was like, man, they have gotta like make this into like a Halloween, because I guarantee that would sell. I really think it would. Do you have any plans for anything like that?
No, you know what? It never came to mind, but at the end of the day, for Halloween, that might be a really cool thing if it's doable.
I think it would. I really think it would work. I in my opinion, who am I, right? But I'm just saying, like, I think that actually would be anybody in the chat. Would you buy a Courtney? How would you describe it? A Courtney makeup mask for Halloween? Would you buy that? But
I just pulled it up, and that's some good makeup right there.
Yeah,
the eyes sell it too, because it breaks between the eye makeup, the cornea, and then the pupil is so tiny. It looks so sick.
Well, and that was the kind of, it was really, it was a struggle trying to figure out what to do for this video, because, you know, we don't know what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't claim to be some director or like know how to operate the camera that well or anything. Mm-hmm. So when we went about it and we sent the first draft that like wasn't color graded or anything, we sent it to our manager, and he was like, "This is really cool." And he's got and he's usually like, if he says that something's like this is really cool, or like this is good, or good job, then we know that it's really good, because like he never usually says that to us about literally anything. There's only been a few times where he's been like overly like, holy shit, this is amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, well, maybe we did something pretty solid then. And then we were fortunate enough to have his name's Dana, and he plays in a band called Kingdom of Giants.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. We sent him our edited version, and he just put his flair on it, his flavor crystals, so to speak, and color graded it and put all the edits on it, like the effects, the cool stuff. And we got it back, and I was like, man, this actually, I'm really happy with how this turned out. This is cool. So.
Yeah, because so from some of the interviews that I heard with you, you guys have done some pretty DIY personified kind of stuff. And in terms of like literally, you had said you used an iPhone, which I think was it for Rule of Nines? Which music video was that for?
So we've done a couple with the iPhone. The first one that we did was the Mara 3 video with the bathtub.
Yeah, the bathtub. Yes, that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the other one, actually we did two more. We did Electric Cross, which is pretty evident that it was an iPhone, and then Trust Fall, which was like really evident that we did it with an iPhone. But you just kind of work with what you got. Like we didn't. The budget went mostly to the recordings when we did all the singles. You know what I mean? So it was like, all right, well, we need a visual for each of these, so let's get fucking creative and let's just hope for the best.
Yeah, because I was going to ask that. Do you feel like, because obviously Courtney's lyrics are very nicely written. So do you feel like that you, I guess for like the story that she's trying to tell with the lyrics, do you feel like you need to have that visual component with it as well? Like how much, is that always like a thing in the back of your mind? Like for each song we need some kind of a visual component rather than just like a visualizer or something like that?
I think it comes down to a couple things. First thing is personal preference. Mm-hmm. We've never really been ones to do like and not that there's anything wrong with this, but like a lyric video or some sort of like you're listening to, and then like the sound wave pulsating and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not something that we've wanted as a look for this band. And the mentality's just always been like, if we're gonna do it, we need to do it the way that we want to, right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I know that everyone is going to interpret Courtney's lyrics however they want, and that's kind of the magic of it. Because, in my opinion, you work on this shit for like 6 months. You do the mixed critique, you get the artwork, you do the videos, and then you let it out to the people, and it's now theirs, right? It's not yours anymore; it's theirs.
Right.
And so I feel like people are just going to kind of decide what it's about, even if you tell them that is something else, because some of the words might connect with them in a different way. Right. And on top of that as well, Courtney, in my opinion, is a star. No matter what she's gonna just automatically mold herself to whatever character she needs to. She's going to portray whatever she wants to, and she's going to do it in a really great way. So for visuals and stuff, we're never trying to match anything, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if we do or not, Mm-hmm. It always just comes down to, like, if you watch any of our videos, you will find that there's like 2 or 3 components that are rather like repeated throughout the video, and that's usually like, an article of clothing that stands out from the rest of us, or red glitter, or just some sort of really easily, found, or just some sort of, anything that can be recreated easy, or is kind of flashy, or just kind of stands out, and we'll base the whole video off of it. That's usually the way it goes. It's usually very simple.
Yeah, no, because I love all the different visual components, because like what's also interesting and really cool too about your songs is that like they're not like the type of songs where you can like read the lyrics and you instantly kind of know what it's about. I think that obviously for certain kind of songs, that's obviously you want to convey a certain message, but like you said, and it really ends up coming down to the listener or the viewer, and to use the famous words of Frankie Palmieri, explaining art kills art sometimes. So and I really like that saying, but I
agree with that 100%.
Yeah, so. And I think that's really, I think that's like, I think that's awesome that you put a lot of emphasis on the visual component. Well, even if it is in like an iPhone or you have a professional videographer do it, because I think that is, it allows the viewer or the listener to really engage with the band in a way that they wouldn't with like a lyric video, because we've tried all of them. We've tried music videos, lyric videos, and visualizers, and the music videos are always far and away much more engaging than the other options.
Right.
Yeah, I'd agree 100%.
Yeah. So the other thing, so I think this is probably a question that I'm sure a lot of people have on their minds, but like I would agree with you. I think Courtney is a star. I know that Adam would agree with that. I think
absolutely
she is a star. I mean, she not only is she a very talented screamer, but she can also sing like very. It's like, and she had said in one interview that I watched with her that she has like a polyp on one of her vocal cords. So knowing that and what she can do is just insane to me. So how do you guys deal with I don't want to say the label, but being referred to as, female fronted? Because I think I'll let you, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that, like, I think where we are with with metal is that it's still not like super prevalent, for and I think that it's for me, it's like still like not like, because you're used to seeing, a guy be the front man and whatnot. So it's like, like when I try to explain to people like, oh, like, this is a female fronted band, because like the other person on the receiving end is also like, what, like a girl does this kind of stuff. So sure. Like, how do you I guess deal with that? Because I'm sure that you would deal with some different kind of trolling online that a normal band with 5 dudes doesn't endure. Sorry for the long-winded thing there, but yeah.
No, dude, not at all. No, it's a very heated question. I think that, I met Courtney in 2008, right? Mm-hmm. The first show I ever played with her, we both played in this bookstore, and wow. it was there was like 25, 30 people crammed into this bookstore, and so I've watched her grow from that to then being an Eye Wobble and having these different time periods of when like women were really not doing that type of thing, right, to then when it was becoming more and more acceptable to maybe now when every single comparison is just you and Ginger. You know what I mean? And so yeah. I think at the end of the day, like, she's dealt with everything across the spectrum. She's dealt with people throwing shit at her, back in the early days when, it wasn't deemed appropriate because it's a woman yelling, therefore it's not sexy, or therefore it's a man's thing, so you can't do that. To then even if one of our first through Eye Wobble, there was definitely instances where like stuff was like negative stuff happened, to even when we were doing our first shows, and something as simple as this sticks out, where it's like we finished our show and we stood there, and one of the bands that played after us, was standing at the merch table and turned over and said, so like what got you into this? Like, why do you do it?
Yeah.
And it's like, could you ever imagine walking up to another musician who just played a show, who's a guy, and being like, so like,
yeah, you wouldn't say it.
Why would you do that? So you wouldn't do that because it's,
right.
So for me personally, like, I understand that it's something that is new to a lot of people. We all very much appreciate that there is a movement and that there is a change happening, but it's hard because it's like you can't win. You'll put up a live video of yourself doing a playthrough and you will leave it raw as shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you will literally leave imperfections. You'll leave flat notes. We'll go out of our way to use one angle so there's no cuts, and you get people being like, "This isn't live. I can hear reverb. It's not live." Or and you just want to be like, man, if this wasn't live, it would sound so much better. You know what I mean? Like, this is literally as live as it can be. Oh, well, no, there's tracks behind it, so it's karaoke. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of that because she's a female, and because it's like almost like you have to prove something. Like, well, she's pretty good for a girl, I guess, or she's my favorite female metal vocalist. No, just say one of my favorite vocalists. Just say that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that transition and that weird thing just I think it's going to take a little bit, and I understand why. But at the same time, like I think people need to just like, I think people just need to live with the times, and they need to understand that we're all just trying to do this obscure, crazy style of music, and that it doesn't matter if you have a dick between your legs or not. You know what I mean? It just really doesn't. It's just, we're all just trying to make happy music. Like it. Why does it matter? Why does it matter if you're a male or female? It really doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think it's getting better, like I said.
Yeah.
But I think that we have experienced maybe a different type of relationship with people online, good and bad, because of it. And my only hope is that in the next however many years, that people won't have this separation effect, and that they'll be able to just see it for what it is and rather like it for the music or not like it for the music, as opposed to like it because it's a woman or like it because it's a man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's and especially being personal, especially with it being my significant other and my wife.
Absolutely.
That adds another thing to it. You know what I mean? And it's hard sometimes when it's done in person to not speak out and be that guy. So I have a lot of I have a lot of moments where I try to understand, and I try to just consider certain things, but I will tell you that sometimes it's very difficult too.
Yeah, because especially you said that you keep up with everything kind of going on the internet, and if you watch the reaction videos, I mean, I don't know if you've come across anything like that, even just kind of watching a reaction video, like, because I mean, I don't know. So is that anything that you've ever come across as like kind of like by accident? Like, yeah,
like people just being like, don't tell me that's a chick doing that. They're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't mean it in a negative way.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And maybe I'm taking it that way, like in that negative of a way because of certain things. But, I just strongly feel like if it was a dude,
it would just be like, yeah, here we go.
It would just be like, oh, great song.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's outside the box, you know what I mean? Rich and I talk about it all the time. When you don't have a lot of things to compare things to,
people don't like
it. It's boring,
yeah.
So people don't like it, and they're uncomfortable around it. There's only a handful of females doing their thing in this genre.
Yeah, and like I said, like it was way worse back in the day.
I can bet.
I've witnessed. I've heard from Courtney. I've heard from many other people. We've toured with a band before called Conquer Divide, who were the whole band were females playing this genre.
Oh, really? Okay.
And we saw it firsthand on that tour, and Courtney's friends with Tatiana from Ginger, and they speak every now and then, and we all read the same comments, we all see the same videos, we all know that that's the way it is. But like I said, it is getting better, I feel like, and I hope that in the next little while it will kind of just even itself out. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that's a good perspective to have too, because I think like for Ginger, for example, there was probably, I don't want to over exaggerate here, but like 8 million reactions to that Pisces live session where people are just like, "There's no way she's doing that." And like at first glance, I get it, like they're like very like taken aback, but then it's like that's a really interesting perspective to look at it, like because like I'll be honest, like sometimes I don't really look at it that way because I'm not a woman, and also I'm not in like you're married to somebody who is doing that, so it's a really good perspective to have, and I think that's something that people should really keep in mind. So I like that. But I'm gonna have people send in questions now here in the chat, but before we get you out of here, man, there was just a couple things that I wanted to ask you about, and I thank you for such a thoughtful answer there.
Yeah, it was good.
I know that's probably a question you probably get often, but
no, I don't know. I think people expect there to be a lot of negativity there, but there also is a lot of understanding. So there's both sides to it, and I think that both sides need to be presented in order for things to kind of get better. So
yeah, Absolutely. Yeah. So a couple of quick things here before we take some questions here from the chat. So going back to the DIY thing, I know that you guys are on Pale Chord. So being so DIY minded, what made you want to go to the label?
So Pale Chord is our manager's label.
Okay. Yeah. I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and basically our manager at the time when this all came about was managing quite a few acts that just kept on being told no, or just kept on being, turned away. And he, not only is an amazing manager, but he also just eventually at some point wanted to start his own label, and he just got really frustrated and was like, you know what, I'm going to start my own label, and I'm just going to develop, some of my bands that I feel like really have a moment to shine, and that I can get them there, and this can be a stepping stone. And it also turned into something where he started picking up other acts full time, and it's becoming a real thing. And
nice.
We're really ecstatic about it, and we would be nothing without Pale Chord. Pale Chord has basically been there since day one, and it's just great. It's an amazing relationship that we have because it's so easy, because it's just the same guy
person,
that we've been dealing with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, they probably help you a little bit with budgets and whatnot, instead of just having enough for the milk bath, buying the milk. You probably get a new bathtub to go along with it or something. But
once you ruin the bathtub with the milk, then you can get a new one. It's all
exactly
good.
Right. So real quick, I know that you had said that you're working on the album, and obviously there's some logistical challenges there. So what are the plans for that? And also, can we expect any, are there other songs from the record that are kind of ready to be released before the record, or are you kind of waiting? And can we expect maybe a feature? If there's anything you want to talk about, anything you can talk about?
Well, yeah. So the record itself was scheduled 2 weeks after we were supposed to come home. That obviously didn't happen. And then we pushed it back 2 months. And then Canada and the States came to an agreement. They pushed travel back another month. So we just canceled the last one, and now we're thinking about maybe October to play it safe. But even then, we're kind of I don't know. So now we're talking about, well, maybe we need to give people another single to tide them over, because the momentum of Holy Roller will inevitably slow down, and we don't want people to forget about us.
Right.
And so that might happen. I don't know. As far as songs on the record and everything, we don't even know if Blessed Be or Rule of Nines are going to be on the album. It's at this point, it's literally going to come down to if we can write anything better. We have 11 songs good to go, but our goal is to write 16, 17, and then narrow it down to 8 or 9 or 10 or something. So
gotcha.
Not too sure what that's going to look like, but yeah, I really hope that we can kind of nip this in the bud and at least have a tentative date where we're all right, October 14th, it's going to happen. We're going to be hunkered down for 3 weeks, But I'm very doubtful, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And as far as features go, we talk about things every now and then, but Courtney is always her thing is that if she wants a feature, she wants to hire the person to do something very unconventional. So for instance, we're good friends with Adam from Oceano. So instead of hiring Adam from Oceano to yell on our record, we would hire him to sing on the album or something.
That would be worth the price of admission alone, right there. That would be. I bet because people are going to be sitting there. Oh, Adam's on the song. Wait for it. The gutturals come, and then he's just oh
yeah. Exactly. So we'll see. I don't know. We're not a big. We don't really consider that until we won't consider that until maybe the songs are a little bit more put together and finalized, and then we'll be this guy would be great on this part or whatever. So right. I'm hoping we can have maybe 1 or 2, but if not, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get a Vincent Bennett feature since Courtney was on a song with the Acacia Strain. Maybe
a little tradesies.
Yeah. But if it does come out on October 14th, that's my grandmother's birthday, and I'll get her the album, and she'll be very confused. So that'll be interesting.
What is this?
Happy birthday.
All right.
Grandma.
Right. Okay. So we'll get you out of here. Let's see. Architect Error says, what bands would you like to tour with someday?
Loathe.
Yeah.
That's a good choice right there.
Loathe is awesome.
We're big on Loathe. Basically just the usual suspects, man. Like Architects, Bring Me, Loathe, Deftones. You name it, we'll do it. I'm really, really hoping that at some point we can link up with bands like that and we can, go on a couple tours or at least just hang out with them. That'd be great too.
Yeah, well, when touring comes back in 2040, it'll be very interesting to see how that materializes. But
dude, 2060 is going to be such a sick year. I can't wait.
Dude, I just can't wait to be like 70 playing metalcore. It's like, all right, let's see that circle pit.
You and your walker, you're not gonna be able to. Your L4, L5s are gonna be exploded from all your headbanging.
Yeah. Jay Seaver01 says, favorite tattoo. Also, what advice would you? I assume he means one of your tattoos, not one of ours. Sure. What advice would you tell younger you who would skip school to go tour?
Okay, yeah. First off, favorite tattoo is this bear that I got. It's kind of hard to see. Sorry.
Did you wrestle it?
Well, yeah. Okay, so I'm getting to that part. So we played this tattoo convention in Texas in Eye Wobble, and Limp Bizkit headlined. And nice. While we were getting tattooed, Limp Bizkit was playing, which was a little bit of a bummer. But I basically went up to this guy who I loved his artwork and I'd known him before, and I was like, I would love a tattoo. And he was like, I can tattoo you. And he freehand drew that on me, and he did it without a stencil. And then halfway through, he was like, can I put arrows through the bear? And I was just like, yeah, okay. And then literally like months after, my band disbanded. So it was very like he could see the future and was like, yeah, your band's going to end up
predicted
breaking up. So you may as well, put this on your body for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And then I'm sorry, what was the next question?
He says, what advice would you tell the younger you who would skip school to go tour about touring? That's the question.
Yeah, I'd tell him to chill out, that it's not necessary. I would be like, just do like half the amount that you're doing. You don't need to do DIY tours like 6 months of the year. Just relax. There's going to be this thing called the internet, and you can just let other things do the work for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also I would just tell him to be patient. I mean, I'm going to be on my 13th year of doing this now, so it's a long game. It's not going to happen right away.
Absolutely. Yeah.
True.
So the other question here comes from Fear the Storm. It says, how long did it take you before you felt like you had developed your unique sound? I'm assuming to Spiritbox.
Man, you know what? I'd say the first two efforts we had, like the first EP and then what became the singles EP, were like very, very much experimental in the sense that like we didn't really know what we were doing and what we were trying to accomplish. Like I said before, like we were just trying to come up with cool, catchy songs that we enjoyed hearing ourselves and that we thought were good. And I think once we kind of started really, getting the whole, I don't know if you can see it, there's a whiteboard back there, kind of going to the whiteboard and writing stuff down and talking openly about, instead of just me presenting songs, like us writing with a vocalist as well and writing with Courtney, like at the same time, whether, we're writing a part and she's just getting on a microphone and just talking gibberish for melodies and stuff. Like once we started working as like a cohesive unit and it wasn't just me, I think that's when we kind of started figuring out what we wanted to accomplish and what we wanted to do. So, like when we started putting out the Rule of Nines, Blessed Be, and now Holy Roller and stuff, I feel like that's kind of this collective in which we're trying to work towards. So I'd say like only in the last, like year, has it been something where we're like, yeah, I think this is what we're about right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a long haul.
Yeah. All right, and the last one before we get you out of here, man. Any advice for a beginner guitarist? And I'll say besides learn Smoke on the Water. So yeah, what's some advice for a beginner guitarist?
Yeah. First off, I would just try to learn everything that you enjoy. Don't start with theory. Don't start with anything that's going to be boring to you. It's going to be a long process. It's going to suck. You're going to suck for a long time. But if you can suck while you're enjoying yourself, and you can like you can learn all the stuff that you actually enjoy playing, and you can build up that dexterity, and you can build up the hand strength and everything while you're doing something that you enjoy. That's what it's about, and you're going to propel yourself way faster versus, say like learning, although it's important, learning like modes and scales and stuff. You're just not going to have a good time that way. You have to enjoy yourself while you're learning, as opposed to just forcing yourself to put your head down and put pen to paper and like, figure out all the back end of it all, and all the the book learn stuff and get all book learned on it. You know what I mean? So yeah, just learn songs that you enjoy, and don't get too what's the word? Like, don't get too man, it's like 40 degrees in here. I can't even remember what I was going to say. Don't get I don't know. Just have fun with it, I need to eat. I can't think straight.
Yeah. Shut up, crickets. That went on way too long. But I like that, man. Awesome. Well, again, Mike, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate you doing this. I know we kept you for a while, but there was so many things that I wanted to ask you, and hope we didn't scare you off too much with all the different sound effects and all the inflated bicep and shoulder talk. But go ahead, man. Plug away. I'm sure that anybody who comes across is probably kind of the chances of probably stumbling across this. Who knows? But just in case, go ahead, plug away. Anything that you go for it.
Yeah, man. We just put out that song "Holy Roller." It's available everywhere. Our whole catalog's on Spotify. We have a Patreon if you want to check that out. It's really cool. We make a bunch of vlogs and videos, behind the scenes stuff, and we offer exclusive merch. And first, you get to hear the songs first before everybody. And there's a Discord chat too, so you can hang out with us and talk all the time. And that's pretty much it, man. That's basically it. That's what we're about at the moment. And thanks so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it, and it was a lot of fun. So we should definitely do it again sometime. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely. We'll be like, I say this all the time, but we'll be like Joe Rogan. Like, we'll be like episode 128. We'll be like, all right, Mike Stringer's back on the podcast.
Yeah.
But
round 2.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll all be 10 years older, right?
Yeah. But yeah, man. Hopefully, maybe when you guys eventually come down to the States, maybe we'll be the local opener for you. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
That'd be great, man.
I'd love to open up for Spiritbox. But anyways, guys, Mike Stringer from Spiritbox, thanks again so much, man. And you have a good one. Go get something to eat, and if it's cold in there, get a blanket wrapped around you.
Yeah, maybe then I'll actually be able to talk. That'd be great. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Have a good one.
I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Peace, man.
All right, man. Peace.
See you guys.
Thank you so much if you made it to this point of the podcast. We really appreciate it. Both Adam and I do a lot.
Very much.
Make sure, if you want to support the podcast, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and a review. And also make sure you share this podcast wherever you can. Unlike music, which we are more so used to promoting, these platforms don't really do a whole lot to help podcasts be promoted. So the only way to do so is to, like I said, share it, word of mouth. And also, if you want to support us even further, like we said, we are a band called TrueShot. Stream our music, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music. And if you want to support us even more than that, we have a merch store, TrueShot.BigCartel.com, where you can go to pick up some merch from us. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.